Bring him here. Bring him here. Shalom, Shalom Israel. Akatazwan coming at you with a quick video, right? And we're gonna get into charity, man. You know, I've been holding back on this video, getting the notes together, making sure everything add up, right? So Shalom to everybody that's gonna be tuning in, right? And we're gonna hop right into it. But first, I'm gonna give a call halal to Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Kwamalak Yahushai. That's all praises. That's all praises to God in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And we're gonna hop right into it, right? And we live, man. So if it, you know, the noise and everything that's happening in the background, just ignore, you know. This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, and verse 8. Start at verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand, but ye therefore be sober and watch unto prayer, and above all things have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. So right off the bat, we know that charity covers a multitude of sins, and we're gonna get more precepts that back that one up. So charity, right, giving alms, right, whether you give it to the poor, you feeding the poor, you giving your clothes to people, right, to to those who need, right, you giving charity and you giving alms, it covers a multitude of sins. So that's how you know that the Most High, He smiles on charity, man. You know, you're not giving money to people that know they about to use it to smoke some crack. You're not doing that. You know, you're not, charity is not giving, letting your bro borrow $10 because he want to buy a dime bag. That's not what charity is. Charity is giving alms, right? It's giving to people in need, right? Giving them clothes off your back, like I mentioned, feeding people that's hungry. You know, you're not giving, like I said, you're not giving a crackhead $5 to buy a rock. Right? Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, and verse 13. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of all these is charity. So the Lord said the greatest, right, Salakia, right? Let me read it again. Verse 12, I started verse 12. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of all these is charity, right? So when things ain't looking good, when things is looking all messed up, right? What do? You know, you give charity, man. Have hope, right? Keep your faith, right? And above all, give charity, man. That is a big thing to do, right? Giving alms and charity. The Most High smiles on that, man. The Most High looks on that and He smiles on charity and alms, man. Right? And we're gonna get into it because who's a prophet that I love to read about is Tobit, man. Right? The way he gave alms and he did his charity work, it is amazing, man. Right? So let's get into it. That's in the Apocrypha. Gotta use it on my phone. Right? Right, so we're gonna go to the book of Tobit. The book of Tobit, chapter 1, and verse 3. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice, and I did my alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh and to the land of the Assyrians. Right, so he gave his alms. Tobit gave his alms and his charity to his brethren. Right, we not worried about Esau starving on the street, man. It's his kingdom. It sucks. It's what I say all the time. It sucks to suck, because it sucks to be a two-time loser in your own kingdom, man. And Shalom, all right, I'm gonna read it again. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh and to the land of the Assyrians. Right? So let's get into another scroll down to 16, right? This is Tobit, the book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 16. And in the time of Enemisar, Salaki, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I gave many alms to my brethren and gave my bread to the hungry. So he was giving his bread to the hungry, man. You know, that's literal bread. He's giving his bread to the hungry. Like I said, you know, giving alms and charity. You giving your bread, you know, you feeding the homeless. But like I said, you're not giving your $5 to $10 to your brother because he want to buy a dime bag. You're not giving money to somebody who you know smoke crack all day on the train tracks. You're not doing that. That's not alms. That's not charity. That's not profitable in any way, shape, or form, right? You could feed that man, right? You could feed a homeless man. You don't got to ask, hey, man, if I give you some money, you going to smoke crack with it? You know, if you know that man a crackhead, don't waste your money. Feed him. You could feed him, right? Everybody got to eat. But, you know, we talk about our brethren, our nation, right? Because we the ones in the lower state of form, right? Our people go from the slums in the ghetto to slanging drugs to doing drugs, right? Slanging drugs because they have to, slanging drugs because there ain't no jobs, because the food stamps ain't enough, the welfare not enough, and that's just the way the way the cookie crumbles, man. You know, that's just the way we curse in this land to be on our people, man. Right? So when you wind up seeing our people on crack and on drugs, it's not really a choice that they did for fun. Right, Esau, he started popping pills and doing Molly in the club. He having a blast. Right, he go from a 2-garage house, and now he living on the streets and under the train tracks in a tent and smoking up crack. Right, So he does drugs for fun. Right, he does drugs because he has the money to blow. Jake does drugs because he needs something to get him by, and he's selling drugs and he got to stay up all day. You know, and Jake is a constant struggle. Right, with Esau, he do drugs for fun, right? So that's why we don't give to Esau. When he two-time loser in his kingdom, oh well, Esau don't do nothing for Jake that's on drugs, right? But lock him up, right? But so like I'm gonna read that again. And in the time of Enemisar, so like if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I gave many alms to my brethren and gave my bread to the hungry, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. Right? So Tobit, he gave his bread, right? He was giving away his food to the hungry, giving his clothes off his back, you know, to the people that had ripped garments, right? To the people that was cold, right? To the people that's freezing and starving. He was feeding and clothing them, man. He seen his people dead on the street. That man took his time, took his brethren off the streets and buried that man. That is a righteous thing to do, man. I read this book of Tobit and I'm like, this is a righteous brother right here, man. You know, if our nation cared about, if our people cared about our nation as much as Tobit did, then you know our nation wouldn't be like this, right? Tobit was a righteous man for this, man. He gave alms, he did his deeds, you know, to his brethren, and the Most High smiled at this, man. The Most High smiles at this, right? That's why in 1 Peter 4:8 it says, "And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins." That's why charity covers the multitude of sins, because that comes from your heart, man. Right? We know the heart is deceitful above all things, but this comes from love. And the Most High say, love your brethren as you love yourself, right? Because the Most High said, how can you hate your brethren, right? But worship me when you have not seen me, right? But you see your brethren right there, right? Paraphrasing that verse. I know Yasharala, y'all know how that go, right? So this brother, he loved his nation, man. He stopped what he was doing, fed his nation, clothed his nation, and buried his dead people, man. This was a righteous man, right? Verse 17 again, "And my clothes to the naked, and if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. Verse 18. And if the king Sennacherib, Salaki, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privately, for in his wrath he killed many. But the bodies were not found when they were sought for the king. Right? So when he seen this heathen slaying his people, right? He waited, right? And he buried them in private, man. And when they came back to the spot, they said, where's that man we just slain? Right? Tobit had buried them. He wasn't gonna leave them rotting in the street, right? Let the flies eat them, right? Tobit knew, and he said, I'm gonna bury this man. Right? Let's read on. Verse 19. And when one of the Ninevites went and complained of me to the king that I buried them and hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear. Then all my goods were forcibly taken away, neither was there anything left me besides my wife Anna and my son Tobias. So Tobit, he was like, I'm he fled because he was going to be put to death for burying his own people, right? But we're going to continue reading that this didn't stop him from burying his people, right? He loved his people so much. Yeah, he wasn't a fool. He wasn't going to sit there and say, I wish you would touch me. That's what Jake liked to do. Man, Jake liked to walk in the middle of the street, say, I wish that car would hit me. Until that car really hit you, what you going to do when you fly up in the air and you crack your head on the ground? What you going to do? But Tobias used his head, right? And what the scripture say, agree with thine adversary quickly, lest he throw you in jail, right? So that's just use your head. If they out there to put you to death, don't just sit there and say, Jake like to say, I wish a nigga would. You're not gonna do that, right? You're gonna flee, right? You're gonna they forcibly took all his stuff. He didn't say, I'm not doing that no more. I give it up. I'm not gonna bury them no more. That's not fair to me. Who's going to give me money? Somebody better pay me. He not doing all that, right? Tobit said, he buried his people, right? They took all his stuff. He had nothing but his wife and kids, and he had the Lord, man, right? So that's all he needed, right? So let's go to the book of 2 Thessalonians, right? $40. All right, this is the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 1, and verse. I started at verse 12. That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. But we are bound to give thanks always to Yahweh for you. So we're bound always to give thanks to the Most High. Like I did a breakdown on the prophet Job. Satan took all his stuff, gave him blisters, killed his kids. Took his cattle, killed his servants. Right, and what he did, he shaved his head, he ripped his garment, and he gave thanks to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Right. So verse 13, we are bound to give thanks always to Yahweh for you, brethren, beloved of the Lord, because Yahweh hath from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the spirit and belief of the truth. Right? So we are to give thanks always to the Most High, man. Right? Hold on, I think I kind of got the wrong one though. Maybe it's 1 Thessalonians. Maybe it was. But we're gonna keep but we're gonna keep it going, man. Right? That was a good precept anyway. Right? So we will go back to the book of Tobit, this time the book of Tobit, chapter 4, and verse 7. This is the book of Tobit, chapter 4 and verse 7. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious, neither turn thy face from any poor, and the face of Yahweh shall not be turned away from thee. So when Tobit was giving alms, he didn't say, man, that's not fair. You know, he didn't envy his people, say they didn't bury him. You know, they didn't get their stuff took, but all my stuff got took. That ain't fair to me. You know, Tobit wasn't over here running his mouth. He got the hand that he was dealt with because he wanted to bury his people. You know, he took the hand he was dealt with, and he kept it moving, man. He had his son, he had his wife, you know, and at the end of the day, he had the Most High, right? So he knew the Most High wasn't going to turn his face from him, right? That's why I said, you know, you're not going to, don't go out your way and ask a homeless man, not that he probably going to admit it, but you don't got to ask him, hey, man, you smoking crack? Let me see your arms. You want a needle? Man, feed that man. If you want to feed that man, you know? Right. So if you want to feed that man, then feed that man. Right. You don't got to give him money because, where I'm from, there's a lot of, a lot of the homeless, 99% of the homeless are fiends. Right. So you're not going to give them money. Me personally, one time I gave some dude money and he went right to the train track. I know he was going to smoke it up. So I said, I'm not giving nobody no money no more. Right. But, that's when I was back in the world. But now using that knowledge, knowing that, if you give a homeless man money or a fiend money, they just going to smoke it up. That should have been common sense. Yeah. But I tried to do something good. But now I know, hey, brother, you hungry? If he say no, hey, that's what it is. But to feed your people and to feed that man, and if he eat it, that's not, whatever. But if he don't, hey, whatever. But knowing that the Most High not going to turn his face from you. That's the whole point of feeding your people. You do it out of pure heart. Now, hey, I'm about to feed this man. You're not doing it for the attention of man, right? I'm going to read that again. Give alms, this verse 7, Tobit chapter 4, verse 7. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious, neither turn thy face from any poor, and the face of Yahweh shall not be turned away from you. Verse 8. And if thou hast abundance, give alms accordingly. If thou have but a little, be not afraid to give according to that little. Right. So if you have a lot, give a lot. Right. So if I'm rich off my ass, right, and if I'm what's his name? What's that boxer name? What's his name? He like 50-0. He fought Pacquiao that day.
Who are you talking to?
Talking to you, but hey, it's whatever. If I'm Floyd Money Mayweather rich, right, and I got $50 million, right, you give to what you got, right? You don't need $50 million to live. So if you got $50 million, hey, give freaking $50 million worth of alms, man. Right. Get yourself a place where you live in. Your wife is taken care of, but taking care of Floyd Mayweather, the water, right? So, give to your people, man. With $50 million, you could buy whole hoods and neighborhoods and build it up for your people. Don't be like Floyd Money Mayweather where he's just showing off this watch cost me $30 million. You see all this money on my counter, check out my Bugattis, rarest one in the world. Two people got it, and I'm the second one that got it. Cost me $6 million. You buying all this stuff for yourself, you're not gonna get the kingdom, man, because you hate your people. And Floyd Mayweather's cool, man, right? So we're not trying to be coons and give accordingly. If you have a little, give a little, give what you got, right? But if you have a lot, give abundance, man, right? The whole point is to get the kingdom, man, right? Remember, alms covers a multitude of sins, right? All right, let's go back to the scripture. Well, we're gonna be bouncing right back from the Bible to the to the Apocrypha. I don't have my book Apocrypha, so I'm using my phone. Right? It is what it is. You gotta take the hand that Jews dealt with. It's the same thing, right? This is the book of 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 20. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. Right? I'm gonna break that down in a second. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and purified unto every good work. Right? So if you're doing righteous work, the Most High can use you as a vessel unto honor. Right? That master's house that it was talking about when it said, if a man therefore purge himself from these, purge himself from the wants of the flesh, from choking your chicken and chasing after women and smoking weed, getting drunk, eating abominable foods, right? And breaking the Sabbath and doing all this folly and get taken out of the ways of America and coming out of the ways of America, right? You could be this vessel unto honor. And if a man purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use. That master's use is the Lord's, man. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, right? And purified unto every good work. Verse 20. Again, but in a great house, there are not only vessels of gold and silver on a higher level, if you got ears to hear, are the angels and the Most High's people, right? But also of wood and earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. So when you get the kingdom, right, you got the vessels of gold and silver, meaning you got the angels on a high level and you got the angels on that lower level, but they're still angels at the end of the day. You're still God's people. You still in the kingdom. You still living lavish, right? But let me read it from the top. But in a great house, there are not only vessels of gold and silver, right? The angels are the Most High. You got the elect, and you got the multitude, right? That gold being the elect, that multitude being the silver, right? But those are vessels unto honor, right? But also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. That being the slaves, the servants, right, in the kingdom of heaven, right? They're vessels unto dishonor. Because who the hell cares about them? Who the hell cares? Who the hell cares? The Most High don't care. We don't care. Nobody cares, right? I'll break out that precept right now. The book of Deuteronomy, brother commented, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14, and verse 28. Let's bring it out. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14, and verse 28. At the end of 3 years shalt thou bring forth all the tithe of thine increase, or the tithing, Salakia. Y'all know what I mean, man. It's the tithes, the church be asking for. At the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase in the same year, and shall lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, this is a good precept, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come and shall eat and be satisfied, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hand which thou doest. Right? So that's a good alms right there. They all came together, they threw their money in, they threw their product in, they threw their fruit, they meat, they sheep, they everybody threw in what they had. If they had a lot, they threw in a lot. If they had a little, they threw in a little. But at the end of the day, it went to the Levites. Why? Because the Lord didn't give them land to inherit. The Lord didn't give him like I said, land to inherit, right? He didn't give them things to inherit, right? So at the end of the year, or that tithings and stuff, it went to the Levites, or every month, every week, however it went down. You know what I mean? So at the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all thy tithes, right? So at the end of every 3 years, right, they bring forth their stuff, and it went to the Levites, man. And that was their tithes, that was their alms. That was a way of giving alms as well. But that's something the Lord required of them, right? But the alms we talking about now is alms that you do out of pure heart. You do because not the Lord say so, not because the Lord say so, because it comes from your heart, which is a good example with Tobit. Right? So let's see, what's another one? Let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 2, and verse 3. But he came again and said, Father, one of our nation is strangled and is cast out. This is Tobias, Tobit's son, right? But he came again and said, Father, one of our nation is strangled and is cast out in the marketplace.
When are you coming, boy?
I imagine him being hung, right? I imagine when he said, Father, when he said one of our nation is strangled, I imagine him being hung, lynched up, because that's how Jake get killed out here. Jake get lynched. Jake don't just get choked out and then drop dead. I seen a video, the cop dude choke Jake out, but most likely he was lynched, right? But he came again and said, Father, one of our nation is strangled and is cast out in the marketplace. Then before I had tasted of any meat, I start up and took him up into a room until the going down of the sun. So before Tobit even ate, man, Tobit loved his nation so much. Before he even ate, he came and he took this dead man that was lynched or choked out. He took him in the room until sundown. Why? Because we read before that they were looking for Tobit to kill him because he was burying his people, right? And he took all Tobit's stuff, right? So he hid him in the room until sundown, right? So let's keep reading. Verse 5, then I returned and washed myself and ate my meat in heaviness, right? So the Most High, not the Most High, but Tobit, after he took that man when he was eating after he washed himself, he ate his meat in heaviness, man. That means he was bawling out, he was crying. That's how much he loved his people, man. That's how much Yasharallah gotta love their people, man, to the point you crying. I see the videos of Jake getting shot, Jake getting killed, whether they're killing each other or Esau doing it. I look at it and I get mad, man. I say, damn, why can't we just love each other, man? Why we gotta be oppressed by everybody, ourselves? That's how you cutting yourself. You like, everybody brings me pain and you cutting yourself, right? You bringing yourself pain on top of the pain that everybody bringing you. That's Israel, man. If Israel was a person, he'll be cutting himself right now. He'll be the kid that goes to school, gets beat up and spit on, goes home and cut himself and punch himself in the face. That's Israel right now, man. Right? Why can't we love each other like Tobit loved their nation, man? If we love our nation like Tobit loved our nation, we wouldn't be in this place, man. We'd be out of this damn place. Right? So let's keep reading, man. Verse 6, remembering that prophet of Amos, remembering that prophecy of Amos, as he said, your feast shall be turned into mourning, and all your mirth into lamentation. There you go. That's what happened to Tobit. They took his stuff, and because he loved his people so much, he buried his dead people, right? And he took his mirth into lamentation, right? He said, man, I ain't got nothing else. Right, but I got the Most High, I got my wife, I got my son, and I'm gonna bury my people, man. If I die, I die. It is what it is, right? But he was smart about it, right? Let's read that again, man. The book of, man, Tobit is such a man. He's such a good, righteous man. It's crazy, man. The way he loved his people, we all need to love our people, just like Tobit loved our people. Remembering that prophecy of Amos, as he said, your feast shall be turned into mourning, and all your mirth into lamentation. Verse 7, therefore I wept, and after the going down of the sun, I went and made a grave and buried him. So he took that man, brought him into his house, cried while he ate his food, and then buried that man. He wept for his nation. He wept for his people. That's what we gotta do. Jake rapping these songs and he say, I didn't kill the nigga, smoked the blunt, and forgot about it. That's how much we hate our people, man. Esau, they rejoicing, yeah, I killed the nigger today. That's what Esau say. And Jake say, I killed the nigga today. Smoke a blunt, kick back, and do exactly what Esau do, man. That's why a lot of Jake gonna die. That's why Jake gonna die. I don't feel bad for the Jake that want to be thugs all day, man. When you getting murked out in the street, it's sad to see, but if you killing your people, you deserve to die, man. We don't need people like that here. We need people that's gonna build up our nation, man. Right? We need people like Tobit. We need a bunch of people like Tobit in this nation, man. Right? When brothers say, man, I ain't got it, take the sign, man, and give that brother some money. Whether if you only got $50 on you, you could get by the week, get that brother 20, get that brother 10, 15, whatever you could do, help that brother out. Verse 8, but my neighbors mocked me and said, this man is not yet afraid to be put to death for this matter, who fled away and yet lo, he buried the dead again. Yo, let me read that again. But my neighbors mocked me and said, this man is not yet afraid to be put to death for this matter, who fled away, and yet lo, he buried the dead again. Yo, are y'all eating this up? Yo, y'all gotta eat this up. His neighbor said, this man is not afraid. He keeps coming back to bury the dead, knowing they looking, they hunting him down. Right? If Jake was to say it, they spinning a block for Tobit. They spinning a block and they spinning it twice for Tobit, man. Right? Let me read that one more time, man. Verse 8, but my neighbors mocked me and said, this man is not yet afraid to be put to death for this matter, who fled away and yet lo, he buried the dead again. Man, Tobit was so righteous, he knew they was looking for him, but yet he buried the dead again. That's how much he loved his people. That's how much we gotta love our people. That's how far charity and alms go. Man, burying your people. Tobit cried and wept and cried his damn eyes out. Man, he probably would, you know, that deep cry when the snot coming out your nose and you can't breathe and you just sitting there. That's probably was Tobit, man, because he loved his people so much. He probably took that man off the lasso. You probably seen that man hanging from a distance and probably bawled his damn eyes out. Seen that and cried his damn eyes out, right? Because he loved his nation so much. We need a bunch of people like Tobit in our nation, man, building our people up. We need to love each other like Tobit loved our people, man. That's what we need. That's what we need to get out of here. That's how far charity and alms go. That's why the Lord said in 1 Peter 4:8 that charity covers a multitude of sins, man, because that comes from the heart. You know, and the Lord said in Jeremiah that the heart is deceitful above all things. That's why charity is a big covers a multitude of sins, because that shows love for your people, right? That's how show your heart is purified by the Most High to take care of your people, knowing that the Esau will kill you. Know that the heathen, these Assyrians, whatever, will kill you, man. For caring for your people, you'll die. Jake will kill you for caring for somebody, man. Jake will see you talking to somebody, doing something good, and want to bother you, man. Want to beef with you and want to beat you up and stab you and rob you for your J's for taking care of your people, right? But Tobit did not care. He cared for his people. He took his people, man. He buried them, wept his damn eyes out. He stopped eating. You know, before he even ate, he took that man in the house, cried his damn eyes out while he was eating, and buried that man. We need people like Tobit, man. Crazy. Shlaki, that was Tobit 2. That was Tobit 2 for the person that just joined. Shalom. So that was the book of Tobit, chapter 2, and verse 3 through 8, man. Right? I got another preset. Man, I'm feeling it, man. And Lord got my spirit burning, man. Because alms is such an important thing. Right? This is the book of Colossians, chapter 3, and verse 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of Yahweh, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, also, so also do ye. Man, so love your people, man. Right? If somebody didn't rob you for your J's, stole your phone when you invited him home to your house, you know, you done fed the man, you done called that man your brother, but he stole from you, man, forgive that man, because Christ gonna forgive you. You asking him, you sinning over and over and over again, you struggling with your sin, you know, and you begging Christ for forgiveness, you crying your eyes out, you fasting once a week, but yeah, you still stuck in your sin and you asking for forgiveness. The Most High forgiving you. Why can't you forgive your brother? You never seen Christ, but you see your brother right there. How you know he not struggling with stealing? How you know he not struggling with a sin? Forgive that man. You know, that comes from purity of the heart. And that precept was important because that's the same thing as charity, right? Charity comes with being pure heartedness, right? And that's what forgiving your nation too, man. Right? Forgiving your people. They might mess up here and there. You know, they might I don't know if I'm gonna mess with this brother no more. Man, forgive that brother. Don't have no hate in your heart for him. Did Tobit have hate in his heart for brothers being lynched and killed? You know, a brother was probably stole from Tobit once. You know, probably called Tobit a bum. Probably called was, you know, and then Tobit buried him. Right? You never know what was going on. Right? But the Most High said, man, forgive your brethren. Right? Because the Most High is gonna forgive you. You want forgiveness from the Most High, forgive your brethren. Right? Love your brethren as you will love yourself. Right? With that, I'm gonna go back to the book of Tobit, man. It's probably my last precept. For the brother that just joined in, you know, you missed a couple precepts. The book of Tobit, chapter 8 and verse 9. Prayer is good with fasting, and alms and righteousness, a little with Slakia. I'm gonna read that again from the top. Prayer is good with fasting and alms and righteousness. So alms is good with fasting, just like prayer is good with fasting, right? And righteousness. A little with righteousness is better than much with unrighteousness. It is better to give alms than to lay up gold. For alms doeth deliver from death and shall purge away all sin. Those that exercise alms and righteousness shall be filled with life. And that's why Tobit was filled with life. That's why he kept doing what he's doing. Why? Because he was filled with the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Kwamalak Yahushai, man. He was filled with life and he kept doing it. Tobit cried his damn eyes out to bury his people, knowing they was looking for him. They was spinning the block for Tobit. Man, all day they were spinning the block for Tobit, man, telling people, yo, you seen Tobit? You better not be lying to me. We out to get him. Tell Tobit we out to get him. We gonna get him. You know how Jake talk. You know, we gonna get Tobit. Trust and believe that. You know, they running around like it's gang wars looking for Tobit because he's burying his people, man. Right? Let me read that again. Verse 9. For alms do deliver from death and shall purge away all sin. Those that exercise alms and righteousness shall be filled with life. So doing, you know, doing righteous things like fasting and praying, and when you give alms, it's better to double up one righteous thing with another righteous thing than to do one righteous thing and do something unrighteous. You know, like when you fasting and brother, hey brother, you know, I'm not asking for money, but you know, can you buy me something to eat? You know. But you know, you out giving a word or something like that, and it's sundown. You know, you got a couple of dollars. You was gonna spend it on yourself, but you know, like, nah, I don't got it. You know, oh, sorry, man, I don't got no money. But you didn't go and buy yourself something to eat, knowing you could just eat later when you get home. You know, that's unrighteous, man. So the Lord said it's better to do something righteous and bear it on with something more righteous than to do something unrighteous, man. Right? So with that, I'm gonna give a call hello to Yahweh Ba'ashem. Slaki, I'm gonna give you a call, Lord, to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Hamashiach, Kwamalak Yahushai, and Shalom, Yahshua, stay strong.